my goodness. I'm glad the reminder came through because I really had it in my head that it was 6 o'clock. Um,
No
and
big deal.
I have so many questions, Jennifer. I have so many questions. I'll be straightforward. I'll throw in my intro and all that stuff after the fact. I'll
Sure.
edit my intro in so we can just jump in if you want.
Great. Yeah.
Um, because when is it your assistant that reached out to me? Is that
My
who reached out?
publicist.
A
Yep.
publicist. Okay. Um, when they reached out, I didn't get the first email, and that's typical. I've had that happen with other guests I've had.
Sure.
Um, so I'm really appreciative when a follow-up comes through because that usually pushes it into my inbox. And it's not that I get a slew of requests. I'm still quite small as far as my audience, although I do reach over 75, 78 different countries and over almost 400 different cities
That's
listen.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So even as a small podcaster, I don't want to diminish myself, but I just started last year, so it's quite
Sure. It
small.
takes a
It's
while. I
yeah.
get it.
So I read the first email when it popped through, and then I read the second one. And to be fair, and I'm sure you've heard this before, I had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And I'm a witch myself, and I am a psychic medium. So I've been around a lot of things, and I thought I knew quite a bit, but I had never heard of either of these two things. And then I reached a little further into your website, and I saw another slew of information, which I want to go through. And it was intriguing. I'm intrigued.
Great. I'd love
So
to hear it.
please, first of all, please, can you tell me and my listeners what is tyromancy?
Tyromancy is the practice of telling fortunes with cheese.
And that sounds quite odd to me,
It sounds
but I
odd to a
know
lot of people.
I've done my research. I know it's been around since the second century,
Yes.
so it's a very practiced practice. But I don't think it's as widely known, at least not in my parts. It's not widely known.
No, so it kind of disappeared after the witch trials or during the witch trials, and then has only reappeared since then in like small mentions in books and as characters like in The Witcher, in Baldur's Gate, and then there's a character in D&D where you can be a Tyromancer. But otherwise, it's there's everybody thinks it's not real. So
Well,
I
to be
am.
fair, I had no idea. I had to Google it and see what is this.
Yeah, I am the only person in the world that does this professionally
Okay.
that we
Well,
can tell.
yeah, yeah. Well, your name obviously became associated in my Google search as well. Like I did see that. Uh, so how all these questions are in my brain. Like I know the divination tools that I use, and like I said, I did look a little bit into yourself through at least the links that I was able to find.
Sure.
Um, and I saw that you're a kitchen witch,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So I'm not as familiar with that, although I mean, I love to cook, but I am no anything in the kitchen. My witch skills are I'm a nature witch. So
Okay.
I do a lot with nature and with natural elements and things like that. So I wasn't as familiar, although when you talk about making spells and all those things are very natural to my ears,
Right, of course.
right? And then I looked at the divination ways, the ways you do use divination and the different tools and things.
Mhm.
And I thought some of those things very common to me. Tarot
Yeah.
cards, oracle cards, things like that. But then I saw, of course, the Tyromancy, candy, and other things, and I was like, "Wow, that's so interesting." So tell me, just fill me in.
Okay. Well, so I've been doing divination since I was little, with like anything around me that I could find, and I loved going to the bookstore and picking up books about like interesting types of divination and doing those. And so it's just always been part of who I am. And I I basically have created a system that already, well, okay, let's start over. So the way that I read cheese is kind of a combination of tarot cards and tea leaves. So like read it, looking for the shapes and the patterns like you would in tea leaves, but doing it past, present, future kind of spread like I would do in tarot.
Okay.
But so I've found that with divination from basically anything like that you can consume or that you can look at kind of like you can I kind of put the reading tea leaves kind of vibe to that. So like here, well, let's do an example, right? I have flip side townhouse flip sides crackers, pretzel on one side, cracker on the other. So I could look at this pretzel and be like, oh, look, there's this big like person kind of standing here, a little bit hunched over in the darker part of the cracker. And so that means that there's a lot of work coming up and you're gonna feel a little weighed down, that kind of thing. Hopefully this is not for me. Um
That's the best thing about what you use, though. That that's the best, at least in my brain. When you use divination tools that are edible, you can literally erase the evidence.
exactly. And people ask me all the time, sorry, I'm joke chewing.
No, that's okay.
So we have really bad air quality right now, and you're in Canada, right?
Yeah.
How is your air?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm very far east,
Hmm.
in Nova Scotia, so we're not getting any of that right now.
Oh, lucky you. We in
Yeah.
Chicago have some of the worst in the world at the moment.
Well, there's a lot of fires above you.
Yeah, I know. Um, so yes, that is what I love about telling fortunes with food and with drinks is that you can then consume. Yeah, so I just kind of transferred my tea leaf reading knowledge onto all these other things. So I can read any kind of food and drink. I can read
Okay.
croissants and curry and salads.
Wow. Yeah, and being like probably like you said, the only person that's doing the tyromancy at least professionally, and maybe one of the only few that read any food products. I know there's a lot of tea leaf readers and things
Hmm.
like that. I personally, I've tried it before. It's not in my forte.
Sure.
So I stay with like, as you know, you stay with what you know. You build on what you know. Um, yeah, I tried it and I don't understand it. It literally like I can hear spirit, I can see spirit, I can communicate directly, but read a tea leaf, forget about it. Right?
Well, and it's interesting for me because that's kind of like the food, the drink, that's a catalyst for me, right? Like that's what I start reading and then I start hearing things and then I
Okay.
start feeling things. So that stuff kind of comes through after that. Honestly, I could probably do it without the little medium here, but like what's the fun if you don't get to eat something after?
Well, I mean, that's true. And people have asked me in the past when I've been doing mediumship readings and I use my tarot and my oracle, and
Mhm.
they ask, well, if you're a medium and you speak to spirit, why are you using cards? And it's the same thing. It's my comfort zone on how I understand the message coming through, and
Yeah.
then it just starts to flow in,
Hmm.
right? And
It's
it's
kind of a
just
crutch to get you over the doorstep.
yeah, yeah, because sometimes if you're sitting in front of somebody you don't know, and actually for me, it's more intimidating when I'm sitting in front of somebody I do know,
Yeah, no, I get that.
right?
Yeah.
So I like yeah, I think I'll leave that there because when you sit in front of somebody you know, I think the biggest thing for me is not their judgment of me, it's is my ego playing a part of it,
Yeah. All the
right?
preconceived notions about who
Yeah.
they are and how that's changing what you're saying, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Wow. I can go on probably for hours on asking many different questions on all the different food products, but I think this would be too long. But I will touch on the other main point that was in the email is the Chocomancer.
Yes.
Because I heard that I saw that word and I heard it in my head when I read it. And the first thing I thought of was necromancing, of
Of
course, right?
course.
So I knew
Yeah.
exactly what it was. I knew what it meant.
I'm
But
reading
the
the souls of dead cacao beans.
but then then I read on and I read that 2024 the NFL had you read the and with Snickers the
Yes.
bites of 21 different mascots to kind of predict the season. How did that work out?
Yeah, so it was a partnership with NFL and Snickers. So Snickers had every mascot or cheerleader of a participating team take a bite out of a Snickers bar and then send me a picture of the bite. And so then I told fortunes based on those specific bites. And then I created a bite guide as well. And then that was like a one sheet. And then Snickers and the NFL put together these like amazing kits that had, I think, 5 Snickers bars in them that were double wrapped. So you would open the outer wrapper and your little fortune would be inside, like on a fortune cookie kind of slip. And then the second wrapper would have the chocolate inside, the Snickers inside. And they were all branded like for the specific team and then for some overall NFL ones, that kind of thing. It was really fun.
Oh, that does sound fun actually. And
And I
I'm
feel
not
like Chocomancer might be a made-up word.
well, it probably is, to be fair. It probably is. But it is a fun word, and
Yeah.
you know, as soon as you say it, you know exactly what it pertains to.
Right,
You know,
right.
like, especially if you know anything about spiritualism or paranormal, anything, you
Hmm.
kind of get it. Now, I have to ask because I'm not a sports person. I watch the Super Bowl, I watch playoffs, but I'm not into like watching sports. So
Sure.
this has never hit my radar ever, right? And but I did look up since I saw the headline, I saw the article and everything, and I was like, now, have other sports teams done this? Like, is this an organized sports like thing? I know that they do use like psychic readings to help them kind of predict what's going to happen. That's always been a thing. Kings and queens have been using seers for
Yeah.
centuries. So that kind of doesn't surprise me. But what did surprise me when I did the little bit of research that I did was that year, 2024, with the NFL, was the only time an organized religion did this, and then they haven't done it again. Do you think they'll do something like that in the future?
I hope so, but I don't know. I know that MLB did this thing called Baseball Zen and then where they did like these Zen sound like ASMR moments. I did not like it. And then they did something with their players and the Zodiac, but nobody's done any sort of like fortune telling in the style that I did for the NFL that I've seen.
Okay.
I would love it.
I
I would
can
love to
see
do
it
more.
coming.
Whoever's
Yeah.
listening, I would love to do more.
Yeah. And I can see it happening because throughout the last few decades, we've been like emerging through a new spiritual movement, right?
Hmm.
And things are becoming more accepted and more well known and more sought after,
Yeah.
especially anything to do with psychic or mediumship and or witchcraft.
Yeah.
And it's I think for me anyway, when I started now you were mentioning early on in the interview that you have been using divination since you were a child,
Hmm.
since you were young. Now for me it's completely different. My story, I'm 50 years old now, but I didn't actually embrace my spirituality until I was about 47.
Okay.
So I had blocked it my whole life. I had early, very young experiences, like 3 years old, 7 years old, where I actually was able to connect with spirit. But
Hmm.
um, I grew up as a chubby redhead, so in the 80s, so there was no way I was adding psychic to that. Um, but I say that lovingly. Um, but at the same time, my family was very scared of it because my mother was told
Sure.
when I was very young, probably around 7 or 8, by someone who could read auras to watch out for me that I was super powerful. And after that moment, because she had taken me to this guy because I had told her I had seen things.
Yeah.
Like when we moved into our house, I told her I didn't like it because the old lady still lived there. And then there was other things that happened in my house that actually correlated to me not liking the house ever. Two
Hmm.
family members died in the house. My house was nearly broken into. Like
Jeez.
it was one of these places that from age 3 I knew I didn't want to be there,
Sure.
right? And my mother just didn't understand why I knew that. Then at 7, I saw a skeleton, like an
Like an
actual,
actual
like
skeleton or like a spirit
a
skeleton?
spirit skeleton.
Okay.
And that scared the bejesus out of me.
I can imagine.
Right. And then I remember I was around the same age, and my mother took me to see a friend's new cottage on a lake, and it had one of those old hand pump wells,
Hmm.
right? And when we were leaving, I said to her, in a very loving embrace, "Thank you so much for bringing me here again. I really enjoyed coming back." And she just stopped. She's like, "You've never been here before." I said, "Oh, yeah, I used to bring water into the house all the time." And
Ah,
she's like, and that's when she said, "Oh, I should bring you to see my friend who does auras," right?
yeah.
And when he said that about me being powerful, um, she got scared.
Um,
She has never admitted this to me,
sure,
but she
yeah.
got scared, and from that moment on, anything to do with the paranormal was hogwash. You forget about it. You're just imagining it. That's not true. So I was kind of conditioned into blocking it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then going through like middle school and high school and stuff, I just didn't talk about it. But there were still experiences I had that I couldn't explain, like
Hmm.
telepathy experiences that I experienced. Um, and I'd be around somebody and I would amplify their abilities. And
Yeah.
then I realized through later in life, when I finally embraced my spirituality at 47, I realized, because I just went out to the universe. I wasn't feeling like myself, and I just opened my arms up and I said, "Universe, do your worst. I don't fucking care anymore. Do your worst."
Yeah.
And I literally started to hear clear audiency right away, within minutes,
That's
and
amazing.
started to get all those things flooding in. And then I thought I was crazy
Yeah,
because
I
I
know
had
the
blocked it for
feeling.
so long. And then I started to hear voices, and I'm like, "What the hell is going on here?" So it took me about a year to actually like realize I'm not crazy. Like these
Hmm.
things are happening. And through all of that, I I don't know exactly what changed, but I started to feel like me,
Well,
right?
went into a place where you could nurture your abilities, you're embracing who you actually are.
Absolutely. And that's when a lot of my um I don't even want to call them skills, but just nature came out of me.
Sure.
And when I say I'm a nature witch, I remember being, I don't know, middle child age, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I had a conversation with my uncle, who's a minister, retired now.
Hmm.
And he asked, and I'm a recovering Catholic myself, but recovering.
I'm here for it, yeah.
Yes. And he asked me, we had a conversation, and I've always been open to very deep conversations. And he asked me why I didn't go to church. And because I was never a churchgoer, never.
Sure.
And he
Especially
said, "Why
Catholic
don't you go
church.
to
What a
church?"
snooze fest.
Well, I said to him, like, I don't like being preached at.
Yeah, no.
I don't like being told what to do. But that could be the Scorpio in me, to be fair. Could be. But I also said, I don't need to go to a building that somebody else pays for to talk to God. I can go to a beach.
Hmm.
I can go outside. I can go anywhere and feel connected to something greater than myself. I don't need a building to do that.
Yeah.
And when I started to discover my spirituality and it opening up and all these things, that's when I realized that statement at that young age was my true statement, that I am part of nature. I am part of the elements. And then I started to actually practice and embrace it and develop it. And it was just crazy. I'm sure like you've probably experienced that yourself. When you embrace it, it just
Hmm.
flourishes,
Yeah,
right?
and it's funny that you say you thought you were crazy because when I was, I don't know, late teens and on, I would see faces around me, just like kind of faces just hovering around, and I'm like, am I crazy? What is happening here? Why am I seeing these faces? And then when I was in my early to mid 20s, I was doing ghost hunting and then they would just like form into whole people. And I'm like, oh, okay. So not a lunatic. Like it was actually something
Yeah.
that was
And that's
happening.
so true.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm glad I'm not alone in that feeling.
Oh gosh, no, absolutely. Even when I was doing like even when I really made divination into a business, like just when I would start hearing things, I would just be like, this is silly. Like, why would I say this? This isn't something that needs to be said. And so I wouldn't say it at first. But then as I grew more and more in my practice, I would start saying it. And that was always the stuff that's totally on point. So I know the feeling very well.
Yes, and I'm glad you say that specific point, only because I've just recently embraced that of myself.
Hmm.
Is I would think something when doing a reading, I would think something and I'd be the exact same, like, "Ugh, okay, whatever." Put
Yeah.
the thought to the side and continue on trying to read the actual tarot card versus listening to what's coming through. And then I started saying, you need to say exactly what's coming through, no matter how stupid
Hmm.
it is, because it's not for you, it's for them.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
And so I started doing that and saying, like, literally saying, I don't know what this means. It's not my message, it's yours, but here it is.
It's exactly what I say. I don't know why I need to tell you this, but I need to tell you this.
I had that exact experience last night. I had two here for a reading, and oh, it was my hand. I had a pain develop in my hand while I was
Oh,
giving a reading, and it was very sharp and burning.
yeah.
And I said, I don't know why my hand is burning. I haven't scratched it. There's no marks on it, but it hurts. Like I cut it, like it hurts. And here, the lady I had just given a reading to, who was sitting off to the side, her husband had cut his hand
Oh, geez.
and he's alive and living at home and everything else. But I said, well, maybe there's a message trying to come through for him,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm feeling the pain that he's feeling,
Yeah.
right? And so we continued on. I didn't find that anything came through, but I told her, I said, listen, I'll reach out if something comes through.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It makes me a little anxious because, like, a few days ago, I said to someone during a reading, I don't know why I need to tell you this, but be careful with your lungs. Like, just watch out for any lung problems. And now we have horrendous air quality. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh no.
yeah,
Oh no. I hope this person is wearing a mask.
yeah. Or staying inside, windows closed, don't have your air circulation on, or whatever you
Yeah.
need to do. Travel, go somewhere else.
Yeah, right.
Get away from the air. Um, yeah. Oh my goodness. What else? I do want to ask you more, and I have it on my desktop. I
Cool.
don't know if I can get there. Hold on. My goodness. Okay. Yeah. So on your link to your witchcraft and divination services,
Hmm.
um, okay, so yeah, I kind of touched on that. The Tyromancy, the candy. You had mentioned the tea leaf and coffee grounds. I had never even thought of reading coffee grounds.
Yeah.
To be honest, I drink a lot of coffee, but I've never
Well,
read my grounds.
it really only works if you use unfiltered. Well, I mean, it can work in any way that you make it work, but the typical traditional way is to use unfiltered coffee. So then, very similar to tea leaves, like you drink all the coffee until there's a little bit of liquid left, swirl the cup around, and then flip it over, and then read what's left.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know if I've ever had unfiltered like coffee like that
It's
ever.
very Eastern European. Yeah.
Okay. And what is, I know what tarot cards and oracle readings are. I do those myself. I'm very
Sure.
familiar with those. But what's a spirit stone reading?
So spirit stone reading, there's like a mat kind of what do I like a cloth that has different segments. It's actually an indigenous practice. I'm not sure if it's indigenous, like First Nations Canadian, or if it's indigenous to the United States, but there's a cloth that has like different segments for different aspects of your life. So like career, love, family, that kind of thing. And then a bag of stones that have animal totems on them. So
Okay.
you pull a handful of stones out and you throw them onto the cloth, and where they
Okay.
land on the cloth and what the animal is and how they like show up is what
Okay.
the reading is.
Very similar to what I would do with the pagan ruins.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. That makes perfect sense to me then. Um, let me, oh, okay, where did my thing go again? I'm telling you, you know what my downfall is with everything is technology.
Hey,
I
you
grew
know
up,
what? I get it. We're not
yeah,
too far apart in age, so trust
no.
me, I understand.
When I set up my, I think it was Instagram or TikTok or something for my company, my assistant, who's 25, half my age, she she was like, "How did you get I have four accounts, by the way. And how'd you get account one to go to account three on this one and account two to go to account one on that one? How did that happen?" I'm like, "I don't know. Here's my phone. Figure it out." I have no idea.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Um, I think I have heard of the Chinese fortune stick readings.
Mhm.
Is that the, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but is there like, I'm picturing leveling sticks and then tossing them or
Yeah,
tossing
yeah.
sticks.
Yeah, here, I can grab them if you want to see them.
Sure.
Yeah, so they come in a container like this.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Blah. Oh, that fell out. That probably means something, but I don't want to think about it right now. So, yeah,
Amen to that.
so
Oh my
exactly. You
goodness.
just kind of throw them down, and you can either pick some or you can throw or like shake them and they fall out kind of situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I haven't touched any of that. Now, the pendulum I have pendulums. I use pendulums as well. So a lot of crossover between the types of divination tools that we use, which is
Hmm.
really cool. And that's kind of not where my head was at when I wanted to do this interview. I was really intrigued with the Tyromancy and the Tacomancer. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell is this? I need to figure it out. Um, but I, through my own development, through my own journey, what my audience has heard me say over and over and over is we are all spirit living a human experience and we're
Mhm.
all going through something, and it's really great when we can connect to others who have similar experiences and or have similar mindsets. And I think a lot of the people that listen possibly do. Now, will they ever tell me? I don't know. I keep imploring them to reach out and send me emails and comments that they get it, but I think maybe my audience is shy or something. I don't know.
Hey,
Um,
maybe.
but we do have regular listeners, so people that will be listening to your episode will be coming from, the majority are coming from the United States.
Okay.
Okay, so I have, yeah, the majority of my listeners do come from the US, and I have repeats that come week after week after week after week. And I think
Amazing.
that's wonderful. I don't want to say I have a fan yet because I don't, my head's not that big yet.
Clearly you do. You have repeat listeners. Those are
Repeat
fans.
listeners, yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. It's great.
Give
I'm not,
yourself the credit you deserve.
you know what? I really need to learn to listen to my own advice on that too, because I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
I do.
And listen to your
Okay.
outspoken Leo friend. Give yourself the credit you deserve.
Yeah, and Leos are definitely good at that.
Hmm. Yeah, my
Def-
father-in-law yesterday was like, "You're such a good daughter-in-law." It's like, I know, thanks. Like, I'm so modest.
yeah. Now you'd think as a Scorpio sun, I would be very good at saying yes, absolutely, I am down, the best ever. But a Cancer moon, so I'm very emotional, very like, you
Yeah.
know, everybody else should get the credit first.
Give
But
yourself the
that's my
credit you
limiting
deserve.
beliefs. That's my job to work on those things.
Yeah.
Um, Now, if someone was to reach out to you, or do you have a specific like type of person or audience that you would like to reach?
Everybody?
Every That's my audience too. I want to reach everybody.
I don't know, just anybody who thinks it's interesting and fun. Like I don't even if you don't, like if you're just curious, I like to Spread information. I'm also a
Absolutely.
journalist, so this is like my thing, right? Like I just like to inform people of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, I have a curiosity question.
Sure.
And I'm going to try to word it so it doesn't sound sarcastic because I can be very sarcastic. And I'm
A
going to try not
Scorpio?
to.
Sarcastic? Come on.
I know, right? Um, but craft singles.
Yes, I've done it.
What makes a craft single so enticing or so easy to read? Or what's good about a craft singles?
So the way that I like to read craft singles is to have someone tear it up into pieces and drop it onto a plate. And then because it's a processed cheese product, it can tear in a really interesting way. So it's like, yeah, I mean, unless you're like really carefully tearing it into cubes. But then some pieces will like stick to each other and some pieces will like fall off the plate and that kind of thing. So there's a lot of variation that you can find in a craft single. Now, if you don't want to tear it up, then I can like read like the shine and any like dimpling or shininess from the packaging, or I can have people like fold it up like a snowflake and take little bites and then unfold it and read that.
That sounds really weird, but
Yeah,
interesting
it's
all at the same
fun.
time. Um, Now, the only thought that came to my head, because the main thing I use craft singles for is grilled cheese, and I'm sure that would change the future, right? When you just melt it off.
No, not necessarily. I
No?
mean, I wouldn't use like I wouldn't tell a future reading with the unmelted cheese and then revisit it like right after you melt the cheese. I would do like a future reading with the unmelted cheese and then like here's like looking at the melted cheese, like here are some things that you need to keep in mind kind of thing. Just a little bit of a tweak to the reading. But that's assuming you're having me do a reading, making a grilled cheese sandwich, and then having me do another reading right after.
Of course, of course. Yeah, because that was in my mind. I'm like, how does that change the future when you
Yeah,
melt it?
it makes
And
it more delicious.
well, that with tomato soup, it absolutely
Oh
does.
yeah, 100%.
Now, when I was looking at the history and stuff of Tyromancy, what intrigued me was the blue cheese, the veining, and all of that stuff. And that I could understand. I could understand um, the difference in the veining, how like certain widths and stuff could look like maybe somebody's face or
Hmm.
look like different things, like you were saying, just
Yeah.
like tea leaf. Um, and Swiss cheese, the different hole placements and the different sizes. I Now you got me thinking.
Good. That's what I
The
like to do.
curiosity has been sparked. Havarti with a lot of specks in it.
Yeah,
That
dill
would be
Havarti is a very popular cheese for my readings.
okay.
Hmm.
That was on my brain. Like Havarti must be a good one to read because it has all kinds of different. What would
Yeah.
be the hardest thing to read?
So this is the problem that I have. So when I first started, I was like, I want the blues, I want the Swiss, I want things with a lot of like inclusions. Because to me, as I was just starting out reading cheese, that was easier, right? Because there
Mhm.
were very visible signs. But you can really use any kind of cheese if like maybe you have someone break a cheddar and you look at the ridges, or like a manchego gets really like kind of oily on the top and you can look at the shapes of the oily part.
Yeah.
I do words. So and then as this has been going on for longer and longer, I've found that things like a really veiny blue or a Swiss with a whole lot of holes, like a baby Swiss, those are getting more difficult for me because they're louder in my head. Like there's a lot of messages coming through at once, and instead of being able to like focus on the main point, I'm like getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. So for me, right now, it's easiest, I would say, to read kind of what I call a cleaner cheese, which is one that is does not have as much like super visible variations, but some that you can find if you break it or you shine a light on it or something like that.
Okay.
Does that
Well,
make sense?
that makes sense.
Okay.
It does make sense because I'm kind of computing it in my head, and I'll vocalize that for the audience. But I'm kind of understanding that, like, when I started using tarot, for example, and I would use the book, but then this was years and years and years ago, right?
Hmm.
And I would use a book with it and try to understand each and every card. And that was really loud to me. It was
Right,
overwhelming, right?
right.
So then when I just a few years ago, when everything started to come back and I was really embracing things, I didn't throw any books away, but I literally put them all away.
Hmm.
And I just focused on what I felt when I looked at the surface of the card. It didn't
Yeah.
even matter to me if it was what it was its true meaning was.
Yeah.
It was what I was getting off that image.
Hmm.
So that makes a lot of sense. That really sounded to me like intuitive reading.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. I don't know if I have any follow-up questions because I think we kind of covered everything.
Okay.
But people can find you. Where can they find you?
Okay, so I just rebranded for for the cheese readings. So for cheese readings, my new website is cheeseoracle.com. All of my socials are at the Cheese Oracle. I sell readings on Etsy, and you can purchase through my website, or you can, if you find me on Substack, you can schedule on my site there. And then my other witchcraft divination services, that's all still kind of housed on kitchenwitch.substack.com.
Okay, perfect. And I will link all that in the show notes so people have
Great.
a direct source to that. Well, it was so great to meet you, Jennifer, and have this conversation because I was very interested as what
Yay.
this was.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you. I enjoyed chatting.
Thanks.